Major news from the American Civil Liberties Union today. The civil rights group is suing the federal government over a secret CIA detention site in Afghanistan that some top officials referred to as a dungeon. The site, codenamed Cobalt, was an underground prison somewhere near the Bagram airfield.
It was nicknamed the Salt Pit, according to the Senate's 2014 torture report. 64 prisoners were held there between 2002 and 2004. The ACLU says the Justice Department and the Bureau of Prisons are withholding documents related to the site and are suing to have them made public. Our justice reporter Paula Reid has been looking into the lawsuit and joins us now. Paula, the ACL's interest in this site, we usually think American Civil Liberties Union here in the U.S. Why are they interested in this?
Well, this is what they do. They look into civil rights abuses anywhere in the world if it has a nexus to the U.S. And it took them a long time to get to this point of suing. You know, they do a lot of work looking into prisons. And in this case, they tried to get information about the Bureau of Prisons operations connected to the site through the traditional channels. They filed Freedom of Information Act requests, but they were consistently stonewalled. They were repeatedly told that there were no documents relevant to their request. So they filed this lawsuit. And that's a traditional tactic when you're stonewalled by the government trying to get documents.
Paula, according to the court documents, the Bureau of Prisons inspected the Salt Pit in 2002. What exactly was their role at the site, and why haven't they publicly acknowledged their involvement?
Well, that's a great point. They've never publicly said that they were actually involved with this particular site. Everything we know about their involvement comes from the Senate torture report. And in the Senate torture report, they describe how the CIA doesn't really have any specialized knowledge of how to operate a prison. So they reached out to the Department of Justice, specifically the Bureau of Prisons, and they operated sort of as consultants to help them in these operations. Now, according to the report, in 2002, a Bureau of Prisons inspection team traveled to Afghanistan and conducted a multi-day assessment of the facility and then provided recommendations and training to the staff.
You're mentioning the CIA, the Justice Department, obviously, and there are questions about, I guess, whether or not they broke any laws. So what's the fallout that may come from this?
It seems that any fallout would be mostly political. This issue of potentially prosecuting anyone criminally for what happened at some of these sites, it's been settled. Ultimately, the Justice Department has reviewed multiple reports and concluded that there is not enough evidence to actually prosecute anyone and convict them beyond a reasonable doubt. So essentially, this issue has really moved out of the courts and into the political spectrum to be a policy and ethical debate. It is highly unlikely that anything revealed in these documents would lead to a criminal prosecution at this point.
Yeah, Paula, this idea of torture and what we should do, it's become a political hot-button topic. Donald Trump has talked about it on the campaign trail and has talked about breaking laws when it comes to the use of torture for prisoners. What do we know about the prisoners that were imprisoned in this particular site?
It was a wide range of people based on the reports that I've been reading. There are some people who just inadvertently got swept up in some of these raids. Some of them were subsequently released. At least one of them died. But there were also people who were clearly high-value targets, heavily involved in al-Qaeda. And most of those really high-value targets have been transferred to the detention center at Guantanamo Bay. But Vlad, you also make a great point. The fact that no one has actually been prosecuted for this kind of conduct really leaves the door open for the next president. You know, there's no legal precedent to prosecute and to really, double down on the fact that this type of conduct is illegal.
And Paula, before I let you go, there was this one prisoner, Gul Rahman, who died in the early hours of November 20th, 2002 after, according to these documents, being shackled to a cold cement wall.
Yeah, hypothermia.
Unbelievable. Paula Reid, thank you very much. Fascinating story.